Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Elevate Your Inner Peace, where we bring spiritual wisdom from all angles. I'm Jamie Beasley. I am an energy healer, an intuitive, and a spirit communicator. And I'm here with my friends Lynn Sobolski and Jeanette Johnson. Lynn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Lynn Sobolski, and I am a tarot reader and an intuitive artist, and I dabble in other things as needed.
I'm Jeanette Johnson. I'm an astrologer of 25 years. I do personal readings and short horoscopes.
So, we're going to have Lynn do a tarot card pull, and this will kind of navigate us through our topic for tonight.
Okay, folks, let's get ready for our tarot reading. I did want to mention this is our third episode of Elevate Your Inner Peace, and there are three of us here today, and today is December 9th, so we've got 333. So clearly, I need to do a three card reading, and the deck that I'm using today is the Crystal Tarot. What I like about the Crystal Tarot is that it is written English, Spanish, French, German, and Italian. Every card has the name of the card in all of those languages. So um, it's a really nice deck to kind of overcome communication barriers. Okay. Okay, so we've been talking about wounds coming up for healing. We've been talking about certain age brackets, maybe not having as much access to healing modalities. So we're returning to the conversation, and the first card that I've pulled is the Judgment card. So if you've been with us this far and you're thinking, gee, maybe I do need some help, maybe there are some things I can be doing for myself to make myself feel better and elevate my inner peace. Um, the next part is the self-reflection. And sometimes when we self-reflect, we can see what some of our issues are and we start to judge ourselves or we start to remember the judgment of others. The judgment card is a major card in the tarot, meaning this is a larger concept, not like one person's one-time judgment. These are the kinds of judgments that form who we are and form who we think and form how we show up in the world. And so one aspect of the conversation is questioning those judgments. Do they belong to us or not? We are also pulling the Queen of Chalices card. Chalices, cups, this is emotions, this is feelings, this is water, this is flow. And in the tarot, there's a hierarchy where the king is on top and then the queen is like the next step below. And so what that means is that when it comes to our feelings, the audience that we're speaking to today, they're not newbies. They have some background in self-care. They may have some background in the healing arts and energy work, but they're not quite at that king level where everything is mastered. And so this queen level says you still have some things to learn. However, don't feel like you're walking into this fresh and not knowing anything. All of the work that you've done up to this point has been meaningful, has been helpful, has built a good foundation for where we're going to go next. So I would say just in general, this is a sign that we can really get into the nitty-gritty with this conversation and not worry about losing the audience. The last card that I'm pulling is a reversed Seven of Cups. So again, we're still talking about cups and feelings and emotions. Um, the Seven of Cups, when it's upright, talks about having lots of options that bring pleasure, that bring joy, that bring happiness. The reversed Seven of Cups is an acknowledgement that, hey, some of those places to go and things to do to bring joy, to bring happiness, those times are finished. That happened in the past. That's a happy memory. And so there's this sense of wanting to honor those memories, honor those situations, look back on them fondly, carry those good feelings forward, but also acknowledging, hey, I may need to find some new places to, for joy, for happiness, some new ways to fill my cup, some new ways back into an emotional positive flow. And before I hand it off, of course, we brought some crystals. Again, going with our theme of three, I've got three rocks with me today. Selenite decided to come back from last week. So again, we know selenite has to do with, higher forces, higher powers, your spiritual guardians, whatever your belief system is. The selenite says, hey, go straight for that. Don't be afraid to reach out for that on your journey for healing. The second stone is going to be a little tough to see. It is called a hawk's eye or a falcon's eye. It's a blue version of tiger's eye. And so we know blue crystals are connected to intuition, your third eye chakra, your throat chakra. But because this is tiger's eye, it has a grounding element too. And so it's saying, this is the kind of intuitive access that people need when they're really going deep. You can approach energy work and kind of have your energy really high and out there and disconnected and kind of suck some things in from, the universe, let's call it. Um, but you can't live there. You have to come down and live your life on Earth at the same time. And so Blue Tiger's Eye is kind of saying, hey, you can access your intuition, but also remember that you're a human being, and whatever you find through your intuition, you then have to enact in your physical life on Earth, and the things that you do and the things that you say and the other Earth beings that you're interacting with. And then our third stone that called out today is Amazonite. This is another communication stone. It's got this like greenish, bluish color that's joins the throat chakra with the heart chakra. It's a great stone for any type of public speaking and speaking from the heart. And so, as you're going on your healing journeys, whether you're speaking to yourself or speaking to others, it's important to speak from what your heart is saying, not necessarily, the thoughts that have been on a track for a little while that may or may not be accurate. So, moving from the heart and honoring that. That is what I am pulling from the tarot card reading. Um, Jeanette, do you want to take it from there and give us some astrology perspective?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Saturn going back to Judgment, he's leaving Pisces. So he's at 25 Pisces now. He's done with Pisces around February. So Pisces, it's the last sign of the zodiac, it's endings, and Saturn is karma, limits, restrictions, lessons. So this is the final haul of Saturn and Pisces, and then he goes into Aries where he starts everything new again. So that's usually when judgment shows up, when we're at the end of it and we almost feel like are we going to pass the test, or did we flunk, and are we going to get left back? I don't think it's necessarily a leaving back, but it's a did you get it this time kind of feeling. Um the other thing about the Queen of Chalice, Lynn, what
The
card was that?
Queen of Chalices. Yep, Queen
Yeah.
of Cups.
It's the idea that you're the queen, but you're not the king yet. So like you've come this far, but you're not really gonna get it till the end of February. So we will still have more lessons with our emotions, our feelings, our intuition, listening to our intuition as opposed to our logic. Because intuition is something you can't prove. Like, oh, I should leave 5 minutes late, but you don't know why. Well, maybe, something bad would happen if you left on time. You're never going to be able to prove these things. So the logical mind needs to stop itself, especially with Saturn in Pisces, Neptune retrograded in Pisces. It's a test of can we trust our inner guides and our intuition. The other thing going on is that there's a lot of fire in the sky. Mars in Sagittarius is square to Saturn. So some people just aren't in a good mood right now. Saturn is emotions, Mars square Saturn. If you don't feel good, if you don't feel like things aren't the magic of the holiday season that it should be right now. That'll pass. Mars is gonna get past that square, but he's gonna take a few minutes. Um, it's okay if you're in a bad mood sometimes. Just let the mood flow and pass, but don't deny that it's there. It's going to be there. The other thing we have is that Mercury is in Scorpio right now. So Scorpio is a very secretive sign. So we don't want to be open about this right now. We're very closed about our feelings. We're not, even in therapy, we may hide some things from our therapist if you could understand it from that perspective. So it's okay to have your secrets, but write your feelings down, acknowledge your feelings. There's a lot of intense energy going on right now. Uranus is still in Taurus. So there's parts of us that we want to change, but we can't because we feel stuck, especially with the Mercury Uranus opposition. It's like we want to change, but we're so set in our ways, we don't see ourselves changing. The good thing is Venus is in Sagittarius, the Sun is in Sagittarius, and Mars, even though square in Saturn, is still in Sagittarius. That's answering to Jupiter in Cancer, which always goes to the moon. So use your emotions to open yourself up to other possibilities of thinking. Like I said, recognize the bad mood, but know that feelings flow and it'll pass and you'll grow from it. And I think that's the important thing. It's not necessarily a test of did you get it right, but how is this helping you grow? Jamie, I know you have some good guides that chime in every once in a while. What do you have to say?
So, one of the things that I had been getting is a lot with the throat chakra, with which is representing our speaking our truth and walking in our power. And it's giving ourselves permission to do both of those things. And there's a lot, like Jeanette, like you were saying, that the energy is heavy right now. The energy is very, very heavy right now. And sometimes when the energy is heavy, it's hard for you to listen to your intuition, to really, the noise can be so, there can be so much noise outside of you sometimes, or just feeling so uneasy with the energy that instead of listening to your intuition, you are spending more time making yourself feel better, right? So doing things that is going to ease the discomfort. And the one thing that keeps coming through to me, like from my guides, is for us to go within. If we would just go within, we would find that peace, we would find that calm, and we would have a stronger trust of our intuition. Um, and I feel like energetically, and what I'm getting, once we get on the other side of December, once we start into January, and it feels like we're starting kind of like it's like a clean start, kind of like in January. And right now is like you were saying, Jeanette, if something is coming to the surface, to just allow it to flow and to not fight it. It's um I always have that visual if anybody is a Harry Potter fan, and the very first movie, they're in some kind of they're going through something that's constricting, and they say you have to let go, you have to let go, and then you like slide right through. And it's kind of like that energetically when you are fighting the universe, when you're fighting the energies that are happening, it makes it harder, it makes it feel worse for you. And it's easier if you just allow it to flow, and allow it to flow through you, allow it to flow away from you. Um, so that's what I'm getting right now.
I just want to piggyback on that thought, Jamie, when you were talking about fighting versus allowing things to flow. I think this is sometimes a thought pattern that people get caught in. They're in some sort of situation and it's not just challenging. It's like there are just too many obstacles that you're not going to get around or over or whatever. And they keep fighting because they have this idea of like, well, if I keep fighting, that's proving that I'm strong, that's proving that I'm tough, that's proving that I'm worthy, that's proving that I have what it takes. And maybe on some level that, you know, that's what I need to do to manifest something. If you're an energy worker, is I just need to concentrate on it really, really hard. Um, and I think as children sometimes too, we're taught to be hard workers and put in the extra effort and not just kind of sit back and let things happen. And yet, it is often true that in the most important things in our lives, the people and situations that bring us the most happiness or that seem the most fated, so to speak, are the things that happened very easily or that we stepped into without realizing it or that just kind of came together without that much effort. And I think part of stepping into your intuition is giving yourself permission to take the easy path without this background worry of am I being lazy or just letting myself be tossed around willy-nilly instead of having a clear path forward.
Yeah, it's astrologically that makes a lot of sense. I mean, when Saturn's in Pisces, you just got to go with the flow. I mean, Saturn's in charge compared to everyone, all the other planets. So he's an immutable water sign. So just flow through it. The problem is we're confused with all the fire in the sky. We think we need to take more action than we actually do, especially with Mars and Sagittarius. One thing that's important to note for today, especially, it's a really heavy day. There's a fight in the sky between Uranus where you want to rebel, you make all these changes. The moon's in Leo, so we're very about the self, and then Mercury in Scorpio. Well, I don't want to talk about it. So that's a big emotional argument. So especially today, if today was hard, transits are transitory. They don't last forever. So the whole going with the flow and letting it pass and using the Sagittarius energy to be creative, maybe draw, paint, write, do something with the energy, even if you're not good at it. I think, everyone should draw at least a little bit just to let that creative flow express themselves and do something with all these feelings that are in the air. Otherwise, they get stuck.
And I also think that as we are trying to process things, what also comes into play is the the way that we've been taught on how it's okay, like what is acceptable, an acceptable way for us to process our emotions or to move through bad days. And we're allowed to have bad days. We're allowed to have low energy days. We're allowed to I feel like we're taught, and I think Lynn was mentioning something like about this, about having to be tough and strong and have that front on all the time. And we're taught this. And this is goes back to what was coming through from my guides is whatever is happening, let it flow. If it feels uncomfortable, if it makes you irritable, um, do whatever you can to pull yourself out of that, right? So like if you feel like you're in a funk, do something that's going to shift the energy around you, right? Do something different, um, to not stay in that energy, but acknowledge that it's okay for you to feel irritable. It's okay for you to feel sad. It's okay for you to feel whatever you're feeling. Just allow yourself to process it, move through it, and then switch the energy up so that it feels better.
Yeah, interesting thing too. So we have three planets in Sagittarius, which relates to the Jupiter in Cancer. So Cancer is ruled by the moon. So let's say you don't have a creative outlet. Try cooking something you've never made before. It's a weird concept because cooking is kind of an art. I'm not really that good at it, but Every once in a while, I give it a whirl. But it's just the idea of being creative in different ways that maybe you wouldn't have an outlet to before. Just something creative to do something with all this energy, maybe make it all productive. Because otherwise, you don't want it to take over you. You want to do something with it.
I like that. And I I have to learn my own lessons, and we're mirrors for each other. And I was having a conversation with somebody that was making jewelry, and I said, I'm not a real artistic type of person. I said it pulls me out of my comfort zone to do artsy stuff. And she said something to the effect that, like, a lot of us are not artsy. We don't think we are, but we actually have that in us, and we do. And she's right, and I needed to hear that. So for anybody that is like a left brain technical type person that says, I don't do art, you can do art, and you might be very, very good at it. But you have to step out of that comfort zone and at least give it a try. And every time you pull yourself out of your comfort zone and you do something that you're either afraid of doing or afraid of failing at, it shifts the energy.
Also, you don't have to like post your creation online. If you decide, hey, I'm going to take a day and take some paint and do a scene, and you're like, oh, Bob Ross would never have, you can just throw it in the trash, put it to the side. But like, no one has to see it. It really is, whatever you choose, it's your space to kind of work out whatever wants to come out. And you know, certainly it's even true for the intuitive arts. What you have in your head is different than what comes out of your mouth or your hands or your body. And then that's even a different message than what gets picked up by however many people are exposed to your artistic endeavors. And so, this idea that whatever you have in your head exactly has to come out that way in order to be right or to be effective in the world is just a self-judgment. Not true at all.
Yes, yes. So, um, in with everything that we've talked about tonight, um, Jeanette, what are your suggestions for getting through this period that we're going through right now?
So right now, Mercury is in Scorpio. So Scorpio is fixed, it's solid, it's stubborn. Problem is, he's going to go into Sagittarius very soon. Mercury moves fast. So watch out for overthinking. Watch out for thinking too many thoughts at once. And with all the planets in Sagittarius, don't spread yourself too thin. Don't think you need to do a million things to be productive. Find one task that you like and stick with one thing at a time. I would say, also, as Saturn is going forward, you might find that I'm a little skeptical about, not skeptical, but like when Lynn pulled the judgment card, don't judge yourself. That's the one thing you got to watch out for. You can never judge yourself. You can't judge your thoughts. And when Mercury is in Sagittarius, you may be thinking some crazy things. Just let the thoughts pass. It's not a reflection of whether or not you're a good person. Maybe you had a thought and you think, oh, wow, I shouldn't have thought that. So what? No one's in your head. No one's going to notice.
Lynn?
Lynn, yeah, I would say maybe you could elaborate more on the judgment because that with Saturn going direct, I'm like, okay, that's definitely that's so Saturn right there. But there's a positive side to it too. It's like a look what you've accomplished too. People don't give themselves credit for what they've done. We look at what we haven't done and why we haven't done it, but we've done a lot and we don't even notice it sometimes.
Exactly. It's about, judgment isn't just about like what did I do wrong or how did I disappoint people or where am I still lacking? Judgment is also like, hey, how have I kept it together? What have I achieved for myself and others? How far have I come from maybe where I was before? What am I capable of? It's being able to see yourself from both perspectives. I think, um, people kind of tend to do one direction or the other. They're either very self-critical and not as judgy with other people, or they're very nitpicky with other people and let their own behavior slide. And so, either one of those is generally unbalanced and not, sustainable throughout your journey as a human being. At some point, that balance becomes so dodgy that you have to go back and fill in the part that you weren't working on. So, um, and certainly as we are in the holiday season, right? We're spending time with friends, we're spending time with family, we're spending time in the places and cultures that we're from, all of which can be loaded with judgments. Um, I think this all just kind of circles back to, being authentic. And I think as Jamie mentioned earlier, standing in your power, standing in your truth and saying, hey, there are however many billions of people on the planet. I'm allowed to be me, with all of my warts, with all of my, stars, and I'm allowed to be a work in progress. I'm allowed to feel the way I feel and to take whatever time I need to do whatever I'm going to do. I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to reconsider. I'm allowed to postpone the conversation if I don't want to have it. I'm allowed to put up a boundary. I'm allowed to change a boundary. It's this idea of allowing without the judgment and just easing into who you are and what you are in the moment and saying, hey, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be and I'm okay with me.
And I I was thinking about what you were just saying, Lynn, and especially this time of year. There's so many expectations, family expectations, obligations. Um, we tend to feel stretched really, really thin. And I I feel like back to what you were saying about boundaries, right? Like we have a tendency to give and just keep giving and giving and giving, and then um, there's nothing left for us. And so one of the messages, that keeps coming through is to kind of quiet. It's hard sometimes, especially around this time of the year, to quiet your mind and just be in a quiet space, um, to close your eyes and take deep breaths. Taking those deep belly breaths, it relaxes your whole nervous system. And one of the things that you can do, especially when you're really stressed out, is take a deep, deep breath, connect with whatever the stress is that's going on in your life, and feel yourself just breathe it out, like breathe it out hard. And sometimes you'll even get some emotion out with it. Like you might even cry as you're doing it. You might cough as you're doing it because it's a release. And Jeanette, you were talking about like with judgment and we can be really judgmental on ourselves. But one of the things you talked about was like reflecting on where we've come from, and that is something that comes through consistently on energy healings that I do, is to remind everybody we are so always focused on what's in front of us. What is the next thing what we need to do? Um, and we never stop and we never look back and reflect on what we've accomplished. Um, the person, look back at the person you are now compared to the person you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 1 year ago, right? And when you do that, it it helps you to look more at your journey and what you've been through, what you've accomplished, instead of always looking ahead, always looking forward and never reflecting. And it's really important for us to reflect because our lives are long and there's a lot that happens in our lives. And I said this in another episode. It's not about getting from point A to point B. It's about that journey in between. And it helps us to reflect back at the journey that we've had. And it also helps us to stop being so critical of ourselves. We're really, really critical. Some of us are harder on ourselves than anybody else around us. And we need to give ourselves a break. We need to give each other a break.
Yeah, I kind of like that, like you were saying last episode, just about being present. Like with Mars and Sagittarius. So Mars is in a fire sign. So Mars is where we take action. It's where we do things. It shows us where we're going to be more progressive in our life. So if you have Mars transiting through your first house, you're making like a lot of self improvements. But in Sagittarius, it's a fast fire sign. So we do need to slow down and we could use that water energy, just sit with our feelings and be present versus having this feeling of like, I always have to be on the go. Because when you have three planets in fire, it kind of feels like you can't sit still sometimes. But the whole point is to be still and be here. You'll get there when you get there. As long as you could be where you are, that's the most important thing. Like you're in the car coming home from work, just be in the car. Just be in the car. Don't worry about what you got to do when you get home. It's just about being and centering yourself.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Um, because it goes back to also what I was saying is you miss so much of what is going on when you're looking ahead and when you're thinking ahead, right? And you're missing a lot of the details of what is going on around you, but you're also in an anxious state every time you do that. When you bring your energy back to the present moment, then it's calming. And like I said, when we go within and we calm our nervous system and we get ourselves into a more peaceful state. And you can do this in 5 minutes, right? Like you could literally just um, try to meditate or just try to be in a calm space for even just 5 minutes would help to almost it like recalibrates your energy, um, and it gives you a fresh perspective on things. And especially like if you feel stuck in the energy, go within, calm yourself down, and then things look differently. Okay, so do either of you have any additional parting thoughts about this?
No, I think we've said what we've had to say for this week. Like I said, Mercury is gonna go into Sag, so like you're gonna find you're gonna have to force yourself to slow your thoughts down. But it's not gonna be impossible. And with Jupiter in Cancer, like I said, just feel it out, use your intuition, don't overthink things. If you feel things out more through, you'll find that this process of everything we've been talking about is a lot easier.
Okay,
The only way out is through.
Yep.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. So, and I one last thing I want to say is don't ever feel like you're 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 supposed to we are exactly where we are supposed to be in the moment we are supposed to be there always. And so we have to stop worrying about whether we should be farther ahead or something more, right? Like where we're at is where we're supposed to be. And the more that we can be accepting of that, then the more present we can be. So All right. We will be back next week with a brand new episode. And I just want to say we really appreciate all of the support that we've been getting so far. We really love doing this. And if you want to submit comments for suggestions on some topics that you would like us to cover on some future podcasts, please let us know. And we wish you all happy holidays and try to not be stressed. Try to just, if you start to feel yourself getting stressed, go within, disconnect, go within, and let your nervous system calm down. Breathe, breathe, breathe.
All
All right.
right.
Thank you guys all.
Thank you.